What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Snack Time. My name is Ben, and in today's video, we're going to be taking a look at a really cool note-taking program called AFFiNE. I know some of you are using like Docmost and Notion and other programs like that, but I definitely think you should take a look at this one. Lots of capabilities and lots of really cool things. I'm going to try to show you everything that I have discovered, and maybe it's something that you want to host yourself. Let's go ahead and jump on in. So we have AFFiNE right here. Here's our main website, and it's AFFiNE.pro. So they do have their products listed here, different features, the team hub, so we can kind of see all of the things that we can do with teams in this program. And that's not teams like Microsoft, that's kind of like teams like if you have multiple people working in like the same environment, same workspace. So check this out. As we go on down, I want you to take note of pricing because this is mostly just AI, right? We don't talk about commercial software. So you can purchase this and pay monthly, and they will host it for you on their cloud service. But they do also have a self-hosting option. They do have one that's free forever, and they do have one that is a pay version of the self-hosted. And there are certain limitations that you will see right here as far as what you get with the free version versus what you get with the pay version. But I mean, honestly, the maximum file size of 100 megs, that's plenty. Most of the time when you're taking notes, it's mostly just images, and 100 gigs of cloud storage does, I believe, apply to your specific cloud hosting environment. So you will not be able to go over that 100 gig amount, which again, for note taking is probably not a deal breaker, but something that you should be aware of. If you want to get rid of some of those limits, or at least increase them pretty significantly, the cost is around $10 per seat. Now that is per, I believe, per actual person, like every user that you have. I think that's how that works, is that's how they consider a seat, not necessarily like per server. That'd be cool if it was per server, but pretty sure that's the way it is. If I'm wrong, feel free to correct me. So we don't really have to worry about that. They do have a believer plan, which is kind of cool. It includes everything for $499.99. That's a little bit much for note taking, especially if you're like me and you just use it for personal use. I think we're going to be just fine with the free forever, just the personal, that plan. Yeah. But I would definitely love to know what your thoughts are. You know, what do you think that, you know, this would be too restricting, or is this something that would be beneficial to you? Please let me know in the comments. So let's go ahead and let's stop wasting time. I know you're not here to listen to me babble on. If you when you go to the web page that you're hosting, this will be the first thing that you'll get to. It'll be an immediate, just kind of like welcome, here's some getting started, and go ahead and you can start pretty much punching in your notes and everything. So I want you to consider something though, that this is, as it says at the top here, this is local data is stored in the browser and may be lost. So anything that you do here without signing in has the potential of being wiped, especially if you clear your cache or anything. Any of these changes, anything that you have done here will be gone. So that's why we are going to sign in and enable the cloud, which is basically, when it talks about this, it's really referring to your server. Let's go ahead and sign in. So we'll go ahead and punch in our username, and then we'll do our password. All right, and once we are signed in, we can come up here and instead of, you see at the top here, we have our workspaces. This should be very familiar with anybody that's used Docmost. They do have workspaces, and so does AFFiNE. So I have one for my demo, and I also have one called Bob. So let's go into the Bob one. That's the one I put a couple of things in. So this one does have a whole lot of really cool features and everything, all wrapped up into this basically free software. We do have all of our documents listed here. You can also organize them based off of folder, very similar to other programs. You can, let me zoom in here, we'll show you. You can create new folders. So we can just be folder 55. And there we go. And if we want to, we can create notes underneath that. Just click on the little plus symbol, and that will immediately start creating our note. We can give that a title. So this title will be Awesome Vacation Ideas. And now we can pretty much just start, you know, we have, it supports Markdown. So we can start like giving like a header, like best destinations. Cool. And then we can just start doing things like that. I want to show you a couple really cool things. We hit slash. We have, you know, we can ask AI to help us out. Don't worry, I'll get to that. We do have text, heading, all of the usual markdown things, but we can easily reach them here by just kind of viewing everything that we can use. I'm going to keep skipping past the AI. I want to show you that here in a second. We could do lists, bullet points, and I don't know if you can see, but let me zoom in and let's see. I'm going to go back to the slash. But every time we hover over something, it kind of gives us an example of what it would look like. So this is, we are just at the very top of this page. We can pick our styles. We can do a new page or a linked document. So if we want to do a new document in here, we can create a table. Images, we can add images on here. You can also copy and paste them very easily, embed code, or embed Google Drive and other things. Let's see, embed for Google Drive and more. So pretty much anything that you can embed code, that's what that's for. We can also do our YouTube video, GitHub, Loom, equations, frames, mind maps. We can create those, dates, table, Kibana view with like there's a whole bunch of really cool stuff in here. I want to show you a couple of them. I've created a document that kind of showcases most of that. Not most of it, I want to say some of it. So let's do this. Let's go ahead and find the document that I was working on. I put it under a couple of subfolders and I called it, oh, hey, I'm going to make myself a little bit smaller so you can see. So I created a code block. That's kind of a requirement of mine, and also being able to add the kind of like the code syntax up here and be able to select which kind of coding it is, kind of really help me color code some of that. I forget what it is, syntax highlighting, I think is what it's called. So you can select from a whole lot of different types of code. So I just chose PowerShell, and I'll show you why in a second. Scrolling on down, this is a table that you can create. This isn't like an HTML table. This is one of the other ones. So if we click on, let me scroll you down at the very bottom. I know I'm spoiling things. That is this table right here above where it said Kanban. So this is this table view right there. And the cool thing about the table view, let me show you, is we can add columns, and we can pick kind of like what type of column it's going to be. You know, is it text? Is it a checkbox? Is it members that we want to assign to a certain task? Is it dates, created by, progress, text, numbers, everything, right? Multi-select, whole bunch of different really cool stuff. This I created. I said, okay, I want a product. So like, you know, I'll just do a brand X, and then we do quantity. How many do we have? A brand X, 44 or 4. Let's see, 44. There we go. So we have that. That's kind of cool. You could also change this to a number. I think I did like tags or multi-select for this option. Now let's see, can we change it? I believe so. If we check this, okay, this is multi-select. I want to change this to a number. There we go. Now it's kind of a quantity. And check this out. You'll dig this. Progress. So we have a little project slider, a little progress slider. Isn't that cool? That's neat. And I also have, I chose the member, so I'm going to rename this member. And you can come in here and select which of your users you want to assign to the kind of this table row. So I don't really use that very much, but I thought it was very cool. Another option that we have is, I don't remember if you remember me telling you frame, and didn't really go into what that was. So frame allows you to create this cool little frame. And what can you do with that? Well, if you double click on it, this is where you can come in here and draw. So you can make notes, you can do diagrams. There's a bunch of different options here. I'm going to click down and go from right to left. There's different arrows that you can create. I mean, like a lot of different little graphics and everything. Yeah, there's just like the tab is literally just called arrows. So cheeky piggies. I got stickers there. We have paper. So there's different graphics you have to choose from there. Brainstorming, marketing, presentation. Let's see, zoom in a little bit. So we have data analysis, simple presentations, project management. So we have a couple of, looks like a fishbone diagram, Gantt, a monthly calendar. That's kind of cool. So if we select the monthly calendar and then like plop that right there, and hopefully I didn't get too crazy. Yeah, so it's added it here. And there's some tips and everything that you can do. It's kind of hard to see because there's a lot of information, but yeah, weird. All right, like I said, the frame is, there's a lot of stuff that you can do besides just putting random little equations. I don't know if you call that equation, and kitty cat pictures. So beyond that, oh, and also you can search too. So if you're looking for a specific thing, like, you know, like a dog or something, you'd be like, if assuming it will keep my cursor, there we go. No dogs, huh? Only cats. Only cats and dinosaurs. I'm a little hurt, but that's okay. Dinosaur. So also we have some items over here. So if you wanted to create some mind maps, we have those. Some text, shapes. So there's just random shapes that you can create and make artwork with if you wanted to. Eraser. So we have an eraser, we can erase things. We also have a pen. So if you did want to have kind of like a whiteboard and you wanted to sketch different things, you can do that too. And yeah, let's see here. We have different thicknesses, colors, notes. So if we add a little bit of text here too. And again, we have the ability to hit our slash and put in pretty much any sort of text that would normally be on just a normal note into our frame here. So a lot, right? just for one part. That is a lot of information. I wanted to show you also the mind maps. That's another thing. It's if you decided not to do a frame, you can create just a regular mind map, and that also allows you to do a couple of different things. You can change the text here, thought number 3, and also move them around and move them a little bit around. And let's see, yeah, there we go, move around. So yeah, like I said, really cool stuff. Definitely really neat. You can also create arrows on here too, and put kitty cat pictures. So you can get really complicated right with this note. But if you're like me and you just need a simple note taker, most of this stuff you're probably not going to mess with. I can definitely see me like playing around with the frames. I think that's kind of cool. But a lot of these other ones, not really my deal, but totally up to you. So let's do this. I created a note called Ben. I want to show you something else that has a really cool feature that is behind this AFFiNE. Is if we click the slash, or if we just click space here, this will open up our AI box. And so this is really cool. So I connected mine with ChatGPT or OpenAI's API, but you can also use Claude, and there's I think Gemini as well. So check this out. So let's do this. Make me I can't spell today. make me a PowerShell script that tells me the time in Ireland. So there we go. We got our script right here. And then we can just say, okay, cool. That's awesome. Let's go ahead and insert it. And so it inserts everything from my AI prompt into my notes for me. And from there, I can edit out what I don't care about. It's already added it as a PowerShell script and a code block. So that's kind of cool. Okay, so one thing I do want to show you real quick that has basically kind of turned off some people from this software. Check it out. So if I do another space and I'll be like, write me a script in Java script that tells me the time in Hawaii. So check this out. You have reached your current current usage cap of AFFiNE AI, and you can subscribe for a 7-day trial. Suck. Well, good news is that you can turn that limitation off in the AI and the admin part of the self-hosted version of AFFiNE. So you can remove that limitation 100%. And I will show you that when we're looking at the admin panel. But that limitation is, yes, that is on the cloud version, that does exist. But when you are hosting your own and you are supplying your own API to an AI service like OpenAI, which I will show you as well, then you can remove that limitation if you wish. Something good to know. So let's do this. I want to show you around a little bit more before we jump into the admin panel, and then ultimately we'll be going into and setting this up on our server too. So you have a couple of menus up here. We do have our intelligence, which brings open the AI little chat bot here. I did set mine for OpenAI, but it still says Claude here, and that is because the AI integration between the cloud version and this self-hosted isn't 100%, complete as far as all the bugs worked out. This is something that is being actively developed, so that's something to keep in mind. If we go to notifications, we'll be able to see any notifications we have, any mentions, workspace invites. You can invite other people into your workspace and help collaborate and everything. We also have a journal here, so if you want to add something to your journal, maybe meetings, you can create a new journal and it'll add a new note. You can also come in here to any of these guys and add notes as well. All right, next up we have all docs. So this will show every single document that you have in just kind of a list. And if I move myself out of the way again, we can sort this list a little differently by clicking on these icons at the top. We do have a way to set up our display options. There's a couple of quick buttons up here that we can click on to list them as like in a little box format, or we can also do it in this right here, and that kind of gives it a little bit more fluid and adjust the size of the box based off of what's in there. Makes it a little bit more natural, I think. Moving on, we do have tags. So if you wanted to create tags, then you can tag documents, and there's an easy way for you to see all of the documents that relate to a specific tag. Like say we have one for open source, we can click on that, nothing there. How about one for coding? Yep, we have a couple of notes that relate to coding. That's because we have tagged them that way. We can also favorite anything, in our notes, favorite any notes that we have, and that'll end up on our left-hand side. Very easy to find, especially for this frequently used notes. This is really, really powerful and really cool stuff. This basically allows you to create dynamic folders that update based off of rules that you establish in the collection. I made one for coding and AI. Let's do another. I'm going to do a new collection, and I'm going to just say meetings. Create a folder called meetings, and now I want to add some rules. So what criteria does a note have to meet in order to be considered popped into this meetings collection? So if you click on add rules, we have we can put documents in there, we can manually select them, or if you create a rule, we can say, okay, well, maybe if they were created and have tags by this, or maybe they have a specific custom field that's checked. So yes, you can create custom fields and tie them to documents too. So like I just created one called custom field and it's a checkbox. So if I put this here and let's say, is checkbox true? Yes. So anything that had that custom field box selected is going to show up here automatically. And you don't have to stop there. You can, let's see, the document, yeah. So let's add another rule. And let's say, okay, well, maybe ones that are a certain template. So yeah, you can create templates for documents, especially if there's a specific way that you lay out certain documents every single time. You can create that as a template, and then you can add that as a rule for this dynamic folder. We can do, yeah, I went ahead and I made one called important documents. I'm going to show you that here in just a second. It's pretty badass. I think that's pretty much about it for now. I'm going to go ahead and just hit save for this. I don't have any ones that say meetings. That's unfortunate. Let's do this. Let's go into one of our documents that we created. If we go up here to our info, here is all the different ways that we can add information that relates to this particular node. Do we want to add a date to it? Do we want to add a specific year? And yes, this is a custom field that I made. So year created, we can go ahead and type that in, whatever we want to. Also, we can look at all the other properties that aren't being shown. Like there's ones here that you can hide that don't naturally show up at the top. But if you want to, you can make them. You can also drag them as well, which is very cool. So say there was like, here's one that I made, important document. I'm gonna put like, yeah, sure. Yeah. I know it's not, I would probably do it like this. I'd be like, I'd check this custom field here and I would be like, all right, well, let's do this. I'm gonna click on this. I'm gonna delete this property. Yeah, I don't care. And I'm gonna be like, okay, I'm gonna call this important document. Oh no, meeting document. So I've checked that. And if I don't find what I'm looking for here, you can click add property and you can create your own custom property if you'd like to, or you can just add additional ones here. All these are kind of a custom, so we can make a custom checkbox, make a custom name or date. So let's say, hey, maybe there's a follow-up date that I want to make. So I added the date here and I'm just going to call this follow-up date. And then I can come in and I can select a follow-up date. So there's a lot of customization that you can do with this. And that's why I'm spending so much time just going over it. I'm trying to cover a whole lot of stuff in a very, very small amount of time. Okay, so now that we have created a meeting document custom field, I didn't even touch on any other ones that just come built into it, which you can remove or add if you want to. Let's do this. Let's see if my collection updated. Yeah, there we go. One that is under the meetings because it had that that checkbox right there. And if I uncheck it and I go back, gone. So very cool, right? So I have not really come across a note-taking program that has so many features, especially for such a little cost. All right, so beyond that, we do have our collections and down here at the bottom, as well as tags. So if you're looking for a way to access them from your menu on the left, we have that option. We have a trash can if you did delete something and you had second thoughts and wanted to recover it. We can invite people. We can import other content from other platforms. And they do have a lot of import options. We have our Markdown with media files, HTML, Notion, and Snapshot. Let's see, going on down the list, like I said, we can invite people, and if you didn't configure your email server, you can just generate an invitation link and put an expiration date on that if you want to, and then just provide them that link instead of having your email configuration, your email server set up. Here I talked about the templates, so you can create your own templates. So it would be like a meetings template. And all of our templates are always going to have this meeting documentation checked. And I'll be like topics to cover and follow up. So there we go. We have our meeting template created. So if we ever need it, we can always use it and apply it to any of the notes that we create. And since I went ahead and checked that box, now any future meetings that we do create will have that custom field checked, which will populate our collections, which is really cool. Let's see here. I'm not going to cover that yet. That's still a lot. Now let's get to the really cool kooky part of AFFiNE. This thing has something that they call edgeless canvas, and some people like to tie their notes into other notes, and rather than using folders and things of that nature, they prefer to do it in a little bit more of a graphical way. So if we click on this icon at the top here, and yes, you can set this as the default view if you want to, we can take this note that we have created and we can add other notes. So let's tie this one over here. And then you can tie these notes together. So say you wanted to link these to this note to that note and create kind of a mind map kind of deal. You can do it that way. So maybe this note ties to this one, which ties to another one. And you'll see at the very bottom, we still have our extra features here, which means we can, yes, definitely add our kitty cat picture if we want to. And we can say, hey, this one, is associated with our kitty cat. So vacation ideas are definitely linked to all this craziness plus kitty cat. Yeah. I don't really use this too much. You can. I think it's really cool. Maybe I could get into it. I know a lot of people that do this and find it really helpful, especially when they're organizing their thoughts. And you can default to edgeless, which basically means that whenever you're in a note, you can view it this way normally. But then you're like, I want a note where I can kind of bring all my ideas together. Then you can look for that little icon right here. And that means anytime you click on that vacation ideas, the default will be to the edgeless notes here. And you can switch back and forth. We do have also export options. We can export any of our notes into HTML, Markdown, or Snapshot. And let me show you this. I'm going to dig this too. There's so much to cover in this. It's ridiculous. Check this out. All right, so yes, they do have their own app. So they have a couple of different options really when it comes to the application. Let's see here. Let's hop on back to their page here. If we go to download, we have an app for Windows. We have an application for Mac OS and Linux. And if we have our mobile devices ready, we also have an app for iOS and Android. So I don't think they missed any platforms. Very all-inclusive of them. And obviously they have the web page too, so you don't necessarily need to load an app. But if you did want something that was separate from your web browser, you could definitely look at that. And the interface is very similar. Now, I haven't seen any difference really. You do have the option also. I created just this Bob workspace, but you can create as many workspaces as you would like to, and it just helps you separate out your nodes, and you can define if those workspaces are local or if they're tied to the cloud, which I'm pretty sure that that's probably what you guys are going to do, is just going to tie this to your self-hosted cloud. I would be really nervous about loading any sort of information into a program like this and having it only stored in my browser. So next up, what do we got? Admin panel. Yep, almost forgot. If we go under our admin panel, and we can access that by just going to /admin after our URL, very easy to do. We have a couple of options. I wanted to show you the one that removes that AI limitation. Let's move my head over here and let's click on this and go to edit. And here we can go ahead and check our unlimited copilot. We can do our early access, reset password, and delete. And we can specify if it is an admin. Those are the only really two roles right now, admin and user. But honestly, more than enough. We have our little checkbox here. We're going to go ahead and save this so that we now have our unlimited AI usage. Next up, we have settings. And I'm going to try to cover a lot of these, but I'm going to kind of blow past a couple other ones that may not necessarily pertain to us for now. For our server, we can set the name of our server to be something other than AFFiNE Cloud. We can multiple hosts from server request. We're not really specifying that. We're going to let that be open, and then we will specify our URL here when we set up our own server. Right now, I just have it going to the IP address. It was just the easiest thing at the time. And holy crap, I'm talking a lot. All right, so let's go ahead and go to off. We can specify whether or not to allow a new registration. So if you don't want anybody signing into your server, we can go ahead and shut that off and hit checkbox. We have notifications. So if you do want to set up an email notification connection here, maybe you have something connected to Gmail or another SMTP site, we can have our system reach out, verify emails, do password resets, things of that nature. And let's say scroll down, we have our storage. Right now, we are going to be using just file storage, but you can use AWS and it looks like Cloudflare. I didn't really name my blob storage anything crazy. Our storage, most of our data is being stored on our Postgres server, which we'll cover during the installation. Next up, we have our storage for our avatars. Same thing, where do you want to put it? File server, AWS, Cloudflare, and what do you want to call the blob storage? Or the bucket storage. Okay, well, next up we have our OAuth, and that will be if you want to have some different authentication methods. I really appreciate this so very much. We can use Google, GitHub, and we also have a little bit of OIDC OAuth as well that you can configure. Most of these are configured with this text here, and if you need assistance, they do have a great documentation section. And next up, we have our AI. So this is where we specify, one, is the AI turned on, and two, which AI will we be using for different scenarios. So like the chat, I wanted to use ChatGPT instead of Claude. So I changed my text here from where it says chat. I changed it from Claude to GPT 4.1. You can also use GPT-5 if you wanted to. Same thing with all these different sections. Coding, what are we going to be using for that? Re-rank, embedding, decision-making, complex, whatever. So that is where you will set those settings. And I will show you probably later on in this video how to configure this to work with OpenAI. I'll show you where to generate your API in OpenAI so that you can do it too. Here's mine. I went ahead and already added my API key as well as the URL for OpenAI. I think the URL was already there. We have the option for Gemini, for Perplexity, Anthropic, Fall, Splash, all the good ones, basically. And now we have our experimental. So I'm not going to go through all of these. We can change our metrics, crypto, but you really don't have to worry about this. This will generate on its own. Any sort of cron jobs that are happening, any throttling that we're doing, document, doc. So that's Do we want to? I have no idea what this is. Maybe one of you guys can tell me. The minimum time intertext to be a new history. Okay, so the Y octo to merge updates at the same time when merging using YJS. No idea. I'll be honest with you. So we have our WebSockets, flags, and the rest of this stuff, honestly, really the only thing really valuable here that I think we should probably even look into is the CAPTCHA. If you wanted to make this internet facing and you wanted to allow people to be able to sign in, it might not be a bad idea to go ahead and set this up. Indexers are all handled through the containers. Let's see here, customer IO. We don't have that integration, and the allowed origin of the worker is the local host. All fun stuff that you'll probably never even touch. Honestly, the only thing that you really need to mess with is making sure that your users can use AI as much as they want to, or as much as you want them to, and configuring the AI, which we'll cover during the installation process. So sorry that took a long time to cover that, but as you can see, this is a huge software package, and there is a lot to it. There's a lot of moving parts, and there's a lot of options. So if you're looking for a mind-blowingly expansive note-taking program, this one might be for you. The installation is super easy too. Let's go ahead and jump into that, and so I can show you how to get it set up on your own server. We're going to be using Docker. We're going to be using Portainer. We're going to also be using Nginx Proxy Manager to make this internet facing and add a little bit of security around the traffic going to it. All right, well, I look forward to seeing you in the installation video starting in 3, 2, and 1. All right, it is that time again. Time to go ahead and get this thing set up on our own server. So if you don't have Docker, Portainer, Nginx Proxy Manager, or any of the other things that we're going to talk about today, it's not a big deal. I'm going to put a link at the top of the page that will walk you through getting this set up and do it at a very affordable price. Not free, but pretty darn close. So let's go ahead and start off with our installation. And typically I start off at the GitHub page. And don't get me wrong, there's a lot of really good information on their GitHub page. Definitely come in here and give them a star. But I found that there's even more information that I need on the documentation resource. So if I go up here to resources and I go to their docs, and I didn't even notice they had templates. Do they have templates that are already defined? All right, squirrel. All right, let's go back up to resources and let's go to docs. And let's go on the left-hand side. Let's go to self-host and let's go to install. So we do have some requirements. Mostly of them they revolve around memory and how many like notes you're going to have. Basic installation, they recommend 2 gigs, but apparently you might be able to get away with a 1 gig, maybe? I don't know. I'm going to say 2. And let's see here. The rest of it is really just revolving around your storage. Moving on, let's go ahead and actually start installing this thing. And for that, we're going to be using Docker Compose, but we're not going to be using the command line. We're going to be using Portainer, but we do need to gather some information for Portainer, specifically the Docker Compose YAML file and the environment file. So let's hit up Docker Compose right here. And here we go. This is what we need. Let's go ahead and copy this guy. And once we're here, let's go to stacks and add stack. And AFFiNE is going to be the name I'm going to give it. You can call it whatever you want. And we're going to paste that here. And now we need our environment file that has all of our passwords and variables that we need to define. So let's click on this .env file right here. And let's copy this. Head back to Portainer. Scroll down and click on advanced mode because we want just to paste everything and we're not going to create them one by one. And I'm going to paste that here. It's going to strip out a lot of the comments. That's okay. It's perfectly normal. So we are going to make some changes to this. And that's just the way that I like to do it. You may have your own way, and that is totally up to you. But one thing we can probably both agree on is that we need to look at this environment file and find out what it's doing, and if there's anything that's going to cause us problems. Let's go ahead and zoom on in. All right, so we're first establishing the name, which we've kind of already done. The image that we're going to be using is going to be the stable one, unless we specify otherwise in our environment file. You see that right there. Container name is going to be AFFiNE server. That's okay. And let's see here, we have our ports, and this is where we're going to really need to decide, are we hosting this locally on our own server internally? Don't want anybody accessing it from the internet, or do we want to make it internet facing and route the traffic through Nginx Proxy Manager? So I'm going to opt for the Nginx Proxy Manager route because I want to be able to access my notes from wherever I am on my phone and everything else. And that's going to make it a much more convenient for me, but that may be different for you, and that's okay. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to comment out these this port right here and the port section and the port definition because I don't need it. And let's go ahead. As we move down, let's look at our depends. So we depend on the Redis server being in a healthy state, as well as Postgres, and we want the AFFiNE migration server to have run successfully. That is fine. Next up, we're defining our volumes. Now, if you've ever watched any video that I've ever done, I like to do the volumes that are kind of mapped with, locations, like name specific and not like defining a specific location on my host machine. That way I can control my volumes through Portainer a lot easier. I'm going to do that too, but I'm not going to do it here since this is just defining a variable inside of our .env file, which I can handle down below. For this right here, for this .env file, I'm not going to have a .env for it to go looking for. If you take a look down here, this sentence right here basically describes what's going on. It's basically that saying that in order for you to provide it with a file that Portainer can give it, you need to make it stack env, not just .env. And that way, when it builds this thing, it will give it that environment file that it's looking for, except it's just going to be named differently. So for that instance, I'm going to go ahead and put in stack.env right here and any other places that need it, specifically the one at the top where I was looking at. There we go. And I'm going to shift over my zoom just a little bit so we can kind of see what's going on. All right, so we have our Redis host, which is going to be called Redis. That's fine. No need to change this unless you're renaming your Redis container, which I don't know why you would. So next up, we have our database path, and that's going to be telling this container that we're going to be using Postgres, and where this is going to be our username, which we're going to define in the environment variable file down below, as well as the password and the port number that we're going to be using. This is the host name. And this is going to be our database name, that if we don't specify a database name, it's going to default to AFFiNE. That is okay. Next up, we have our AFFiNE indexer is going to be false. That's all right. We're not going to set that up. And now scrolling down is going to be our migration. This is also, I believe, the same program container that's going to handle setting up our database structure for us. So thank you. And this is going to be the command it's going to run when it first starts up. That's fine. This container right here actually is only going to run, I think, just once. It's not going to run all the time. I think it just runs as it's needed. It kind of does the same thing with the environment variables here. It's telling us, what the Redis server it's looking for. The fact that it's using PostgreSQL with all the other variables that we're going to specify. And it's looking for healthy conditions of Postgres and Redis. Here is Redis. Not too much to see here other than, here's the health check that it runs to make sure that it's okay. Now moving on to a little bit more important part is our PostgreSQL, our Postgres server. This is going to be the container name right there. We have our volumes. Again, we are defining that below. The username as well. Password, yep. Database, again, yes, so it's going to be this, or it's going to default to AFFiNE. And then we have our initialize, our init arguments, which is going to be a data checksum. I believe it's just going to be checking to make sure the data is hunky-dory. And then this comment is interesting. It says you better set a password for your database, or you can add Postgres post auth method is trust to ignore your security policy. I'm not a big fan of that. I'm going to see if we can get away with not ignoring the security policy, just because I'm a little paranoid. Especially since this is going to be internet facing. Maybe if it was on your local network, you don't care if it authenticates. Totally up to you. And then we have our health check and our restart policy. So our restart policy for pretty much all these guys are going to be unless stopped. And what that means is if your server crashes for some reason, when it comes back up, these are going to fire up automatically unless you stopped all these containers before rebooting your server. If you did that, then it's not going to start up automatically. So scrolling down, let's take a look at our environment variable file here. We're going to be defining our revision, which is stable. That's fine. Our port, which we really don't need, but it doesn't hurt to leave it in there. The database location, it's going to be specifying this under our /home / the user that Docker's running under, then into a hidden folder called .AFFiNE, and then the rest of these paths. I don't really like that. I'm going to change that. You can leave it as it is if you want to, but I personally like to be able to manage my volumes through Portainer. So we are going to be making a little bit of a change. So for our database location, I'm just going to back over this and I'm going to call this PG data. It will create a volume called basically AFFiNE_PG data. I'm going to do the same thing for my storage. And I'm going to do the same thing for config. So that does require me to make another change up at the top when it comes to our Docker compose file. We need to build those volumes, otherwise it's just going to error out. So let's take this information that we have here. We have PG data, storage, and config. All right, so let's hit enter a couple of times, and then a couple of times on the tab, and we're going to say volumes, : and then it's going to give us our indentation, which we need, PG data, : Now we do need to indent back. And then we need to make one for storage and one for config. Storage. And I am going to go off video for a little bit, mostly because my camera's overheating because I've been talking too long. Not a problem. This is a long video, I know, but I think it's worth it. All right, so our next one that we're going to be doing is config. There we go. And so we have all of our 3 volumes being established. Cool. All right, so next up, let's go ahead and continue down our environment variable file. We're going to be creating a username called AFFiNE, and we can, make it a little bit more secure and say AFFiNE user. And then we have to define a password since we told it not to bypass security checks. I'm going to call this super secret fun time password 123. And then we're going to establish our database name, which is AFFiNE. All right, let's zoom out. And with all this built and configured, now it comes time to hit the deploy button. So if this is the first time you've deployed this, this will take some time. This is a lot of images and a lot of things for it to download and create. So have some patience and I'll be back here in just a second. Ta-da! It worked. All right, we can check to make sure that everything ran okay. If we click on AFFiNE here, and let's take a look. If we click on our log for the migration job, everything seems to have ran successfully. There's any big red error messages. And if we go under our AFFiNE server, then in a second, you should see a bunch of also green and blue text come flying by saying that everything is hunky-dory. Yep, cool. It's initialized everything. It's just basically picking up its configuration file. All right, so now that we have that all configured, let's go ahead and join our Nginx Proxy Manager to the same network as our AFFiNE. So I'm going to go ahead and go to containers. I'm going to go to Nginx app. And if I scroll all the way to the bottom here, let's drop down this select networks and hit AFFiNE default, and let's join. This will allow us to pass traffic from our Nginx Proxy Manager container to the AFFiNE containers. Next, we have our DNS that we need to set up, and this will allow us to create a subdomain for our new Note server. And I'm just going to call this, I'm going to add a new A record. This will allow us to basically create a subdomain. And if you don't know what a subdomain is, it's basically like it's the domain, but it's something in front of it. So in our instance, it'll be AFFiNE, and our full domain will be affine.synhow.com. That makes sense. I'm going to be copying and using the external IP address of my server, and I'm going to save changes. And once those are saved, now all I have to do is go over to my Nginx Proxy Manager and do some configuration. Let's head back over there and let's go to proxy hosts. All right, and let's add a new one. And I'm going to zoom in a little bit. All right, and we're going to do affine.synhow.com. Now it needs to know what hostname or IP address to forward the traffic to. Well, I always say don't use an IP address because that may change on you. So let's find the host name. The host name in our instance will be the AFFiNE server. So right here we have AFFiNE_server. That's what we need. Let's copy that. And let's paste it here. I want you to look really closely. Make sure there are no spaces. You see that little space right there? Oh, he's going to be a troublemaker. Make sure there are no spaces. All right, now we need our port, our forward port, and that's asking us what port is this container expecting to see traffic coming onto. And I think that there's an easy way to find that. And all you have to do is go back to the Docker compose file. You can also look under stacks if you want to. But if we look right here, the port it was expecting to see traffic on is, for the external port, it was going to be 3010. And internal, which is the right of this colon here, is the 3010 as well. So in this instance, they match. It's not always the case. Sometimes that port's like 80 or something else. All right, so I'm going to block common exploits. I'm going to enable WebSocket support, and I'm going to hit save. Now, obviously, we don't want to have the traffic heading off to this our Note server all unencrypted like. So let's go ahead and add some encryption to it. I'm going to drop this down, hit edit. I'm going to zoom in, and let's go to SSL, and let's request a new certificate. Let's force that SSL, and let's agree to the terms of service and hit save. If you did everything correctly and you spelled everything correctly, this should go away without much trouble and just pretty much just poof, gone. But if you did get an error message, like a little red box pop up, best thing I can tell you to do is check your spelling. Sometimes there's just a little bit of spelling. So there's a space here or there that shouldn't be, or it's possible that the DNS name just has not had time to propagate throughout the internet. Okay, so far so good. We have our thing set up. We have our SSL configured. Now let's see if it works. All you have to do is just click on this little box here, and let's see what we get. Well, so far so good. Very pretty. We have our affine.synhow.com. Let's go ahead and hit continue. Asking us to create ourselves an administrator account. I'm just going to do Ben. Email address is going to be ben@synacktime.com. And my password is going to be super secure. And here we go. Now we have we've created our new server, and we are ready to rock and roll. So there's a couple things we may want to go ahead and change. Let's go ahead and go under settings and under server. And the first thing that we need to go ahead and do is to go ahead and specify our server name for external URLs. So for this, we're going to be using basically what we have up here at the top. We could even copy and paste this. La 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 la. There we go. So we got our server protocol, HTTPS, our server host, and port, which we're going to be using port 443. We don't really need to specify that. So now we should go ahead and give our server a friendly name. Let's just do it Ben's Awesome Super Duper Notes. All right, there we go. And we will accept host server requests from pretty much anywhere. All right, let's go ahead and hit save. I also want to give myself access to do everything with the AI that I ever wanted to do. So let's go edit and let's click on Unlimited Copilot and hit that. All right, now we need to go ahead and I'm going to open up a new tab. I'm going to paste this here. And that should take us to our notes page. Yep. Cool. All right, so it's saying the data is being stored locally. We want to make sure that we've signed in. And I agree. Let's go ahead and enable AFFiNE Cloud. And if enabled, the data on this workspace will be backed up and synchronized via the AFFiNE Cloud. This is a little misleading. It's going to be backed up to our hosted machine, our self-hosted machine, which is our own version of AFFiNE Cloud. Here we go. Ben's super awesome notes. There's my demo work, and I can create my other workspaces if I want to, totally easily. Awesome. I want to see something. So it was telling that if we want to share something externally and generate it, it needs that URL. Let's see if it picks up the URL without me doing anything crazy. All right, so let's do this. I'm going to click on here and I'm going to click on, let's see here, share and copy link or export. Let's do copy link. Oh, no. Yeah, let's do copy link. So anyone with the link has read only. This is another really cool feature. And if we open up a new tab, yep, it picked up my URL just fine. So I'm not really worried about it. Cool, awesome. Very, very, very cool. Okay, so what's next? Well, I told you I did want to show you how to configure your API for OpenAI. Let's head on back to admin. Let's go to settings and AI. Make sure we enable this. Let's save it. So if you look here, the override is enabled, is false. I think we changed that to true. I'll have to try it. But basically it's for audio transcribing, it's using this. But for the chat, it's using Claude, Sonnet, and yada, yada, yada. You could change this too, but what I noticed is that this model is not really responding very well. I think if you just found the most updated version of this model, it would be fine. But I also want to show you, just in case you want to use OpenAI, how to do that. For this, I went ahead and created myself an account with OpenAI already. And it is something that I am paying for and something I'm going to be able to get API keys. The API keys are charged differently than just the pay version of ChatGPT, so something to keep in mind. Though $10 goes a really long way in this whole API business. So if something you're going to be using pretty frequently, just know that it's pretty affordable. And you can also use some of the free models too. All right, so for this, I will need to create my own API. So let's go ahead and go to the little gear at the top right here. And let's go to API keys. And you can see I have several of them already created for various projects. Let's go ahead and create myself a new key. And for the name, I'm just going to call this AFFiNE AI. And I don't really need a project. I'm just going to set default and then hit create key. I don't need a new one, that is. It's going to generate my key here. You want to copy it, since I don't believe you'll be able to copy it again. He said, yep, if you lose it, you're going to have to regenerate it. That's fine. Hit done. All right, and once we have that key established, let's head on over here. I'm going to make this a little bit bigger. And let's scroll down. You see where it says OpenAI provider. What we're going to do is we're going to place this API key right in between those two quotation marks. So you should have API key : quote, and then your key, and then another quote, and then a comma, and then that's the base URL. We're next going to need to change this model to be something else other than Claude. So if we modify this value right here, keep inside of the quotation marks, Let's just go ahead and change it to GPT 4.1. You can also change it to GPT 5 if you want to. And we're going to go ahead and hit save. Aha, I'm back. And just in time too. And so one more thing that we want to change here, we have the chat changed to GPT, but if you plan on doing any sort of like coding or anything, you may also want to change the coding to GPT or update the Claude model so that it's using one that's, you know, more accurate. So I'm just going to change mine for now. And one last thing I promise that we are going to have to change, and that is the override enabled false. We're going to change that to true, since we are basically overriding any sort of defaults that are in here. Let's go ahead and hit the save button at the top. And assuming that it worked, because sometimes it can take a little bit of time. All right, so I think that should have saved. It didn't tell me, but maybe it did and just didn't want to let me know about it. Let's go ahead and hit refresh here. And let's say, okay, well, tell me a joke. And here we go. Why did the Scarecrow win an award? Because he was outstanding in his field. But all right. So now we know how to change our AI to use OpenAI, if that's what you so choose. It's the same thing with any other models. If you want to use Gemini, just change the name under the chat and coding. You can be very specific about which AI you're using for whatever you're making, whether it be images or coding or whatever. All right, well, I think that pretty much wraps this one up. So I really want to thank you so much for sticking through the entire video. I know this was a long one. If you have any questions or comments, leave them down below. Otherwise, I definitely appreciate your subscriptions or likes or whatever you want to throw my way. I hope you have a good one. Take care, guys.